Welcome back to the LCS, where Cloud9 has taken sole possession of first place. And while we were all hyped for this matchup, Mark in particular has seen some trends around Team Liquid's play most recently. And we wanted to dive into some of that, share some insight with us in this edition of State Farm Neighborhood Tactics. Hit us, Mark.
Thank you very much, Dash. This time, like Dash was saying, I want to look at level ones. It's a part of the game that sometimes goes underutilized by a lot of teams. I think a lot of teams like to kind of just default into what people call point defense, fan defense. There's a couple names. You basically just cover every jungle entrance that you can possibly get, going all across the lanes to make sure that no one can sneak in on you. And even if they do invade, you know where the wards are going to be, and you can play around that. Team Liquid goes for much more aggressive plays, and that's something I really like, to utilize every single champion. Most champions in the games have something they can do level 1. Nautilus, for Team Liquid, has 2 CCs at level 1. He has his hook to pull people in, and then his root on his auto attack. It's something that's unique about him. So they go for the fastest possible first blood you can get in competitive. CLG pulled this off one time. It was like a 32-second first blood. You charge up mid lane with Nautilus. If you see someone, you flash hook. And you get a flash for flash, trading your summoner, usually for the mid laner. This time, Abbedagge was hiding in the brush, so that didn't actually end up happening. But TL is always fishing for these kind of micro advantages to see what they can get. This time doesn't work, but they have other looks. They don't just default to a single look this entire time. So the next game, this was 2 games from last week, Core JJ charges down to the bot river. This time they're not going right up the middle. They're actually going to hold that play until the minions spawn, because they know that they don't really care about winning lane against the Caitlyn. They're fine to sack the priority and find an opportunity to go ahead and kill PoE when the minions spawn. People don't expect this kind of cheese. It's kind of solo queue-esque, but something that does get them advantages. They get a ward down. Core JJ is going to see PoE. Bjergsen plays to the top part of the lane to force PoE down to the south side to set up this play. So it's a super easy flash, auto, hook, pull in. More CC than most champions can bring level 1. These were all last week. And heading into an important matchup today, what does TL do? They charge down mid lane. They go for the exact same play that didn't work last week. But Cloud9 did their scouting. They did their homework. And they are actually going to send Trundle up to the mid lane. And so when they go for the flash engage, Blabber's able to flash away. This protects Fudge, which allows him to have a great game. It does have some knock-on effects where the dives that came through a little bit later for Blabber did not feel quite as clean as they could have been if he had that summoner up. But this was all about trying to get an advantage in the top side 2v2. But the problem is, Summit is just too damn good to be set behind by some level 1 mishap.
He's so damn good. Come back over here and join us as we watch that top lane dive play out that you're talking about, where the lack of flash will ultimately hurt Blabber. There is that we have made the argument, have tried to look at this play enough to know whether or not he could have just walked out. You know, we're arguing over peanuts at that point. But I think the point stands. One, incredibly interesting that Team Liquid as a team has invested so much into level 1 strategies. And honestly, I think most of us here on the desk are in agreement that we would like more teams to invest more into level 1. It's free time on the map, find advantages. But number 2, that adaptation by Cloud9, right? The idea that, hey, they've also done their scouting. They know what might come from Team Liquid, and it is far worse for Fudge to lose his flash than it is for Blabber.
Exactly. So, like, just having that foresight, I'm sure the coaching staff has looked through the VoDs, the players can see some things. These teams have probably scrimmed enough against each other to be like, okay, this is going to happen. Something wild is going to happen. Just be aware of it. And so it really does help them, because for the jungler's going to be able to hide himself at least, right? Going to be able to go through his camps, and if he wants to be more active, then sure, he can be like that like example of the top dive. But for the most part, for a laner to lose flash, can be lane ending, in this case, really helpful for him.
So if we kind of key off of this play and work through the game, Emily, as Mark mentioned, while yes, a kill goes both directions, it's Summit who picks up the kill on the one side, plus a red buff, and he starts to just kind of go off to the races on the Tryndamere.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big play that's going to come up is that fight for Rift Herald. And he, like, this is such an impressive game from him, just because, again, he got targeted. TL actually did do, as you'll see them pull off this dive here, try to target him early, right? Like, Bwipo picks the Jax so he can match him inside. It's obvious from TL's composition that they are going to want to play to side lanes and try to beat C9 that way. And this is the Herald fight where it just doesn't matter, right? He makes up all of his disadvantages in this one fight. And why I really like this game from Summit specifically is because we were talking about a few caveats we might have had around, you know, how good is he when you take him off the Jace and Gnar, these two champions that he knows like inside and out. This was an insane game from him in terms of how he understands what Tryndamere can do in fights, the limitations of this champion. There was just that one slight mistake in the bot lane that he had, but other than that, like insanely clean game from him when he was under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's insane, right? Because even from the outset of the draft, going for the Jax in the top lane, you're right, like targeting the top side early, the Warden's Mail pick up. So the Jax was just gonna be, when he gets the goal lead, should be able to keep that lead. But he played so well around it. I thought C9 also had a great understanding. This time it was like, okay, we got the Rift Herald, put it on Summit so he can get the gold in his pockets and kind of subvert all of what was Team Liquid was trying to do.
Yeah, I think the entire draft from Team Liquid made it difficult to pilot a Tryndamere in this game. You have so much CC from the Nautilus.
Exactly.
Viego has a little bit. Ryze has lockdown. You have Jax CC. So to pilot that situation, never go in too early. Get your ult forced out. Not get caught in side lanes. I think was super impressive out of him, as much as like the team fights he actually ran over.
Yeah, Summit, obviously, massive piece of the victory. Emily, do you have anything to add on him?
Yeah, well, I was just going to add, like, on the flip side of the matchup, because I was the one who picked Bwipo, right? And I now have to take that L, so let it be known again.
We all did.
Up to my mistakes.
Honestly, we all predicted Team Liquid, so
we all
well,
predicted,
no,
yeah.
I want to bring
let him make her
up,
point
yeah,
first,
I want to bring up a key point, because one of the things I said is like, okay, I'm looking for intangibles from him, like a lot of these late game team fights where he will be flanking, and that's actually where we saw some pretty major mistakes from him, right, in this game specifically. And on the flip side, Summit, where I know that he's just this lane monster, right, and I want to see better coordination from him in team fights when he's not on the Gnar. You saw that in this game, right? Like he fought with the team so incredibly well.
Actually, I 1000% agree, because actually when you isolate just the moments where it was Bwipo versus Summit in the side lanes, it was getting scary for Bwipo, or for Summit, even with those early kills that he got, right? You saw the possible effectiveness of the Jax in that sense. And so would have wondered what would have happened if we actually did get to a point where those two with maybe 4 items are going at it in a side lane.
Exactly, like that was what we were all looking for. It's pretty incredible for C9 because Fudge had a great game this one. I thought that the entirety of C9 actually came in strong around Summit, so it's not a surprise that Summit ends up getting player of the game for this one, right? So, like, that's already a big win for C9. The level of growth that this team has had from the beginning of the split is just getting higher and higher, and now they have sole possession of first place.
Sole possession of first place. Right now, they become the team to beat, in a sense. I know we've talked a ton about Summit. I do also want to call out Berserker, though, as well, because as the game, moved forward, we got a lot of again, he just fulfilled the expectation we have of him, but it seems like every minute on the clock is like another percentage or another gear that like Berserker finds in his arsenal.
That plus Fudge had a really clean game on Victor.
Yes.
Considering we were like, oh, we didn't talk about the mid matchup that much pregame. He absolutely delivered on team fights.
100%. I think C9's looking better and better, and it's not just going to be the Summit game. It's going to be like now.
I don't know, man. I feel pretty good about my Summit prediction.
I mean, that was a good prediction.
It wasn't
win the game?
It wasn't even a
Yeah.
Cloud9 prediction, really. Yeah.
You just predicted Summit.
Too good, too good. All right, well, with their win today, Cloud9 grow ever closer to locking their spot in spring playoffs. And speaking of spring playoffs, we are thrilled to be reuniting with fans in the LCS studio come spring playoffs. Tickets will go on sale March 17th, so grab one so that we can see your lovely faces in this space. Not only that, but the LCS is also headed to the Lone Star State for spring finals. For the first time in more than 2 years, we will crown a champion live and in person with the fans, and I cannot wait to have that happen again. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. The shake of the arena.
Yes.
That feeling, right? When you wearing the headset and you still can't even hear what's going on in the game.
The
because
rumbling.
because the fans are so loud.
heckling.
Like, I miss that so
The heckling.
desperately. The
Not looking
heckling,
forward to
yes.
that.
People taking photos of me standing on a box. Why not? Bring it all back, okay?
pics from
Hey,
here.
this time I'll have somebody else
your
on a
shoes
box
off
with
all
me.
the
time. Yeah, I was gonna say,
this time there'll be someone else on the box.
so
I love
short.
it. All right, well, solidarity in that one. Plenty to look forward to as we look to playoffs. But for 100 Thieves closer, FlyQuest always seems to have his squads numbered. Take a look.
I think FlyQuest kind of got away with 2 wins from us. I mean, it was a deserved lose for us, but for sure we were in a position to win the games, especially the last one. So I really want to win against them. and show that like we just not different levels.
Dropping the ball last time, he claims, from a winning position, puts FlyQuest, one up in the head-to-head, but tied in the standings currently. I think this is an incredibly interesting matchup because we still seem to waffle time and time again on how good actually is this FlyQuest squad. And then by the same token, we're looking over at our defending champions and we're going like, where is that version of 100 Thieves?
Yeah, I mean, so you could tell that Closer's just running through like the plays in his head, like he just sees.
He'd rather forget it.
The Kumo play, the Kumo Tryndamere play on repeat.
Damn you for asking me this question.
Yeah, he's like reliving it in his mind. I think the big thing here, and I want to revisit 100 Thieves game from yesterday because Golden Guardians actually had a really good setup against them if they had played to sides, right? And when they played into these 5v5 fights, that's where 100 Thieves took over. Against FlyQuest, that's how they win, is through these like called 5v5 fights.
Yeah, and so just looking through FlyQuest games on the screen here, for me with this team, it is about how they play around Josedeodo. When Josedeodo first came to North America, it was a big question of like, hey, how is he going to impact the lineup? And we didn't get to see that. With this team, with aphromoo and Johnsun playing up incredibly well on the bot side of the map, the consistency is there from this team, at least from mid lane and bot lane. The team fights for Jose have just been phenomenal. And so you just want to see that more often. Of course, their previous games have not been good. They've been starting to slip a little bit, and that's what sucks. They are tied with 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves probably don't feel like that after yesterday's game.
Nope.
Versus Golden Guardians. And so for both of these teams, they're looking for this game to be like that big rebound, a bounce back to confidence.
Both teams, even though, FlyQuest lost yesterday, they also fell pretty far behind in the early game. I think both teams are probably going to target the draft a little bit harder to find more avenues to get ahead in the early game. FlyQuest in particular has always struggled with this. Even that dig win that they picked up last week was this one where it felt like they had fallen behind, and then they still are able to take team fights, which I do think is something they do well about staying in games. But you also want to just have the clean dubs the whole way through.
Yes.
I was just going to say, as we said yesterday, no team wants to have a team comp that only works 10K.
Yeah, fair enough. Or, Golden Guardians and not being able to play through sides. As I remember, I think, oh God, who was it? The Shakuras actually posted that thing on Twitter.
The 12 minutes where no one catches the wave?
Yeah, specifically Golden
Hey,
Guardians.
100 Thieves catches some
Technically,
waves, I think.
100 Thieves does go up there twice, but they're also the ones playing defensively.
Yeah,
they just
right.
catch the wave.
So they have to
they're doing what they should.
They're doing what they should. And so for this team, looking at this matchup, I would say it's just about, for me, the junglers. I already talked about Josedeodo. And I think for Closer, who has, even in their losses, played phenomenally well, is the matchup that I want to see. Both of them incredible Lee Sin players, great carry junglers for their teams. And so if it's going to be FlyQuest that's winning this one out, it would, please, Jose, Captain Jose, save me from a spicy tongue, is what I'm saying.
I just wanted to jump in real quick because some people might be wondering why our faces are still on screen blabbering about. It's because FlyQuest, as you may know, yesterday and today playing from home. So there's a little bit more time that it takes to set up those games when one of the teams is playing from a remote perspective. So we have a couple more minutes to talk about it.
It's not just because you like talking so much.
I mean, I do like talking so much. I really do. But no, I'm pretty sure the producers would have my head if I
You delayed the game 4 minutes.
More than, they'll usually spot me 30 seconds, right? And then usually that 30 seconds is spent wrangling this guy.
Hey!
Hey!
Hey, look, here's a bus coming. Get under there, Raz.
Hey, man,
Hey,
you tried to chuck me under the bus. I grabbed Raz as you tossed me into
You're not
the
the bigger
street.
man, are you?
No, absolutely not. Going down, bringing you all with me.
Hey, if you give me more time to talk, I'm going to do it.
Fair enough.
I will tell you.
That's what you're paid to do. So
There
I'm
we
glad
go.
you never have a shortage
So,
of work.
Raz, truthfully, how are you feeling about your FlyQuest prediction?
Not good. Not good, especially if they're losing in the way that they have been against CLG, right?
Yeah.
Like, they need to be, just to be truthful, a lot of the times, especially if you're going up against a Twisted Fate comp like they did yesterday, and then they're getting caught in River a lot of the times when they know it's not their timers, those are, like, some of the hardest conversations to have because it's like, well, we should just know better, right? Those are the tough ones to have, and I think that this day could be a rebound for them, knowing that, okay, well, we've seen how 100 Thieves tend to play. We also know that, we got caught off guard by Twisted Fate, and if it's not something that works for us specifically, maybe we just tend to ban it out here. So I'm a little bit more hopeful we'll see about that.
Yeah, I think Afro also took a bit of a risk with the Renata.
True.
It's something that hasn't seen a ton of success yet. I think it is a strong pick. People will get better on it, but I've seen a lot of misplayed laning phases, and that was one where their lane got boomed pretty early again.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that will just take more time, more experience in all the different matchups that can occur, who you're playing against, who you're laning with, all that different stuff, because you do have to proc her autos with your champion to get the passive proc off of her. So there's a little bit more to it.
Yo, also, just to back to the conversation around your bet, yes, but FlyQuest remaining games, they have a tough schedule ahead
They do.
of them.
Yep.
They do.
100 Thieves here. They yet to play their second match against Cloud9, EG, Team Liquid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, that is not an easy, and then Golden Guardians. That is
Don't
a
look at-
tough
don't look at
schedule
me,
to
Mark.
close out the year.
Well, and they had a rough Super Week schedule, right? And so both Super Weeks are the exact
They're
same
mirrored,
schedule. And that's when they really came kind of crashing down to earth with the 0-3. Obviously, some of that I like. This isn't an excuse, but they were put in a tough position due to the technical issues that they had to deal with as well.
Oh, yeah, versus EG, sure.
But yeah, so I think for FlyQuest, this is a match that they feel like they definitely can win, and it gets tougher from here.
Raz, final point? Just kidding.
No!
Time to go to the casters.
Damn.
Flowers and Azael, take it away.
Save me from the jalapeno.
I think
Welcome back, everybody.
Raz is doomed.
Yeah,
We were
Raz,
just looking at the strength of schedule. They still have Cloud9, they have EG, they have TL, they have to play 100 Thieves now. Like, all the hardest teams are still remaining, and Raz can only have them have one more loss, I think.
Yeah, I don't.
Everybody's losing their bets today.
Yeah, I'm
Mark
not
and
really
Jat
sure
both lost their bet.
what Raz is doing, but that's you know what? That's okay. You gotta keep it
That's on
spicy.
brand.
Yeah, you gotta keep it spicy on the desk, and then you're gonna eat the spicy later. It'll be
Exactly.
fine. Exactly. All right. Let's see how it goes. And both of these teams, just like the last game, we're tied in the standings. It's a day of breaking away from your closest competition here in the LCS. First ban of the draft will be the Rise, keeping that one away from Abbedagge. Hecarim getting banned away. This champion is recently becoming a permanent addition to the band roster in so many games just because of how powerful he is. Victor banned out here as well. FlyQuest really targeting that mid lane.
Yep, absolutely. 100 Thieves coming off a win yesterday, but they were massively down against Golden Guardians in that one. So a lot of people, I think, high expectations for 100 Thieves that they haven't necessarily been living up to. People really want to see them step up, try to look like a title threat here because they are the defending champions, but so far this split, they haven't really been looking like they're in a good position to be able to have a chance to even make it to the finals and try to defend that title.
Right. I mean, I was talking about the same thing with Kobe yesterday, is just the fact that if they would have lost that game to Golden Guardians, that in a lot of situations they would have down 11,000 gold.
In
They would
most,
have
yeah.
had an even win-loss record. They would have been 6-6 as defending champions, which is not normally something you see happen in the LCS. Usually, if you're coming back in as that defending champion, you're one of the top contenders for the title again.
Especially because nothing changed on their team, right?
Right.
You know, they have that same squad, you know, so I know that they are hungry to get back towards the top of the table. I've heard that they have been grinding really hard, you know, putting in the work, you know, trying to climb back up, trying to hash out, you know, what those issues are. But have to see that start to really show as we are getting to the tail end of the split here.
Right.
You know, this is
Time's running out.
the end of week 6. There's only 2 more weeks remaining, so not a lot of rope to work with here.
And granted, one of those will be a super week, so there's going to be a little bit of extra game to play in there, but time runs thin. Anyway, we've got Tryndamere, Tom Kench, and Lee Sin rounding out this first round of bans. Nautilus, the first pick of the draft for FlyQuest. Response from 100 Thieves is Volibear and Leona, so 2 meatballs to start off the draft here, provide a powerful front line. Back over to FlyQuest, using the entirety of the timer here to decide that second pick, and it looks like, all right, they're gonna lock in the Ahri for toucouille.
First play for him on the pick, so excited to see how he's going to perform on it. I think he has been such a standout on FlyQuest. There has been a ton of talk, obviously, about Jose, who I think is really having a big resurgence, having a great year, his best one in the LCS. But toucouille, I think, is one of the really big reasons that FlyQuest is performing above expectations, because people had him ranked towards the bottom of the table. I think he's easily top 3 for mid laners in the LCS for his current performance. I think he's been really, really good and very consistent. And he's very good at his laning phase, and he's really intelligent about how he plays around enemy jungle pressure. It's very rare to actually see him die to ganks. You know, he's really on top of where they could be and playing to the correct side of the map. You know, positioning really well to be able to get out damage and not fall prey to any sort of pressure.
Well, hey, we're going to get Zeri in back-to-back games here. This is just a short time ago. This would be completely unheard of, just absolutely not. But the champion is going to be piloted by Johnsun this time around. 100 Thieves are going to answer by getting their own AD carry. Jinx lasting until just right before the second part of the bans come in, but they do want to make sure they can pick that up before those bans arrive, because otherwise, highly likely your opponents will get rid of that S-tier marksman pick. But there is not parity in terms of the roles drafted. We've got bot lane plus mid lane for FlyQuest. We've got bot lane plus jungle for 100 Thieves. So I expect the next bans to reflect that. And sure enough, they do. Trundle banned out by 100 Thieves. Yeah. And Gwen, the target for FlyQuest.
Yep, absolutely. Trundle, Hecarim, Lee Sin, all banned out already. You know, targeting Jose. He does still play a lot of J4. That's his other kind of most played pick in there. Obviously, Xin is still available, so there's a lot of options. But today, at least, we haven't been seeing any marksman bans, so it's been kind of different roles getting targeted, which I think is partially why we're getting to see some new picks from some of these players as they're being pushed a little bit off of comfort. You know, today, we're seeing multiple mid lane bans there from FlyQuest, and with the Gwen ban coming through, they could even throw another ban towards Abbedagge if they want to try to thin that role out even more so. Push him down in his champion pool, because he hasn't been one of the more flexible guys. You know, he is stuck more to kind of the standard control mages.
Yep.
Only has the 6 unique picks, which is, I think, on the lower end for mid laners.
Well, what's our last ban going to be here? You're going to look at Ssumday, you're going to look at Abbedagge. All right, it's the Zillion banned out. So again, looking towards that mid lane here. That'll be 3 mid lane bans in total from the side of FlyQuest. Now, I'm curious, how's 100 Thieves going to do this? They can secure counter pick for either one of their solo lanes, but which one do they want to put priority on?
Because mid lane has already been picked.
Right, that's true. That's true. I completely lost the plot on that one. That's my bad. But yeah,
no.
You already see that. So you've got the Ahri. What's the response into the Ahri? Hovering on the Azir here for a while. Do we want to lock that one in? No, the Vex instead.
Vex, so a lot of engage on this comp. You have Leona, you have Vex, Volibear can hop in, so a really aggressive look here. 400 Thieves, a lot about the dive, and I wonder how they're going to try to round that out from top lane, if it's going to be another diver, you know, maybe even a Camille, something that can side lane and really kind of group and play aggressive with them. Also, because Zeri has a lot of dashes, there's lots of dashes obviously on the Ahri as well. You get that Vex passive to be able to hit those additional autos for the Gloom proc, I believe it is called. But Sion will be locked in here for Kumo. He is going to be blind, so going with a tried and true trusted pick here. Going tanky, going towards the top side. Feels like they're building more for the 5v5, and we'll see how they want to round it out with that final pick. Jose, known for the Viego, that's available. He could go towards that, could go towards the Xin. Those are the two that are kind of standing out to me.
Well, there you go. All right, Viego's going to get locked in. So they have a front line of Nautilus and Sion for the tankiness, for the CC, and then follow up from Ahri, from Viego, from Zeri, from these champions that can either reset or pseudo-reset to keep the fight going. So if FlyQuest can get off to a good start in the fight, it looks like we got pretty high hopes for them. But last pick of the draft into the Sion, it'll be Aatrox for Ssumday.
Yeah, very quick Aatrox grab there. His first of the split. Ssumday was a really big Aatrox guy back when it was more popular. We haven't seen much, if any, Aatrox really this year. I think I remember like 1 game, maybe.
Yeah, so there's 1 game and it was a loss.
Yeah. So it hasn't been played a lot, but Ssumday definitely strong on it. Will be interesting to see if he can actually, match up well there against Kumo. You do have the ability to kind of interrupt the charged Qs from the Sion with your own Qs for those knockups. You can kind of bully and push in, and it's going to be really strong skirmishing with him and the volley.
Yeah, him and Volibear together, they can start causing that havoc that sets Vex up for the resets. I think both of these teams have some pretty pop-off comps.
What's going on?
Jake from State Farm, the perp just confessed. I think. I don't know.
What?
Oh, can't afford streaming anymore, so here we are.
Oh, don't give up what you love. State Farm has options to personalize your policy so you get a rate that fits your budget.
Oh, that's great. The subtitles would be nice.
For surprisingly great rates that fit any budget, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.
All right, Azael, let's talk junglers here early on in the game, because Closer and Josedeodo both have a good chance to sort of get things going for their squads here. I already mentioned how both of these teams look like they have plenty of reset potential once we get into the fights, so that means these early leads, making it so that reset can be guaranteed to happen by having some more money, some more power, more levels, whatever. Where do you want to see Closer and Josedeodo focus in this early game?
I mean, I think for Closer, you're probably going to be looking towards mid. If you're going to be playing Ignite Vex, this is a very aggressive setup here, trying to play through that. I think saying makes a lot of sense. I also think it's going to be more difficult to attack someone like Kumo unless it's stacking waves and diving, or even Johnsun, who's playing with the cleanse. So I do think it's going to be a lot about playing around mid and trying to really get that kind of snowbally mid laner ahead. Because as you say, playing Ahri and Vex from ahead, you get that first reset. That is such a key component to the fight.
Yup. I mean, we've got resets on the Ahri and the Vex. We've got resets for Viego. We've got... Zeri's isn't a full reset. I feel like it's just sort of a pseudo reset of making sure you keep your stacks up and can keep fighting with the ulti on. But then Jinx has resets.
Yep.
We've got a lot of this in this game on either side, my friend. It makes me feel like team fights are either going to be a complete graveyard where we lose 4 or 5 men on either side and it's just constantly bodies all over the floor, or if it gets too lopsided one way, as soon as one person dies, boom, everybody else goes, and it's an avalanche.
Yeah, it can be really, really scary. And while Ahri, especially, post-6 is pretty evasive, pre-6, it's not that hard to actually gank Ahri here. You have the fear for setup or follow through. If you can land a fear into a flash stun there from volley with the E crashing down, like, you have burst to kill this guy for sure, especially with Vex taking ignite as well as the electrocute. So for toucouille, I think it's a lot more about playing for the push, about trying to be able to shove this out, trying to control the minion waves, and kind of that's your goal when you are playing TP, is less to fight and less to interact and more to just get the push and take the advantage through the slower pace of play, with that teleport and that more resets.
Abbedagge is doing a good job here at mid lane, though, like playing as aggressively as he can, making use of that fear and guaranteeing that he can follow it up with a little bit of extra damage to proc the electrocute. So toucouille will need to continue being respectful here. Once again, just like last game, we're going to see our junglers starting on opposite ends of the map. So it'll mean that Closer is closer to the bottom lane, whereas Josedeodo is going to be clearing top side eventually.
Jinx with the push here early on, so no big surprise in that one. Going to be shoving it up. Both supports going Glacial Augment. We have seen some people mixing in Aftershock if you want to go for like kind of support on support, where you're actually just engaging onto the enemy support and fighting it out that way. Then Aftershock can be pretty valuable, just making that a little bit more tanky. Ssumday going to have the push on top side. No big surprise there. And we'll see if who can get eyes on Jose. At the very least, he'll get that Tri-Brush ward down, so should have early warning if Jose comes over to this area. And he's not playing Sweeper. Johnsun, or rather aphromoo, is. So if they do have an idea that that has been placed, they could look to try to clear that out and maybe enable Jose.
Yeah, I'm trolling. I didn't even notice that Josedeodo was starting up at the blue buff. So our junglers are actually on the same side of the map, contrary to what I said earlier. My apologies on that one, but it's FlyQuest clearing out some of the vision. They still have Josedeodo hanging around down here. He'll go ahead and recall. There's not really a play to be made now, so he'll go back to base, grab that Sheen, extra clear power, right back onto the map.
Yep, and because Closer has push in top and bot, he's going to be afforded the option to go for double scuttle, right? He's going to be able to grab double scuttle here pretty early. A lot of extra gold earned for himself. Obviously, people talk a lot about the XP nerfs on the first scuttle.
Right.
But you're still getting paid. He is going to be 2 camps ahead off the back of that. A little bit of vision and safety garnered for his team as well. There is one brush in the side there, so Ssumday should be feeling pretty safe, and the wave is going to push back towards him unless he decides to really shove it in. So, pretty good timing on the bounce of the wave. You want to try to make it crash, as your jungler is elsewhere, and then when the jungler, could be up looking to gank you, having it slow push towards you allows you to play very defensively, allows you to sit back and just wait to collect that farm without really much risk.
Right, that's the big thing. You want to mitigate that risk and make sure that you're not in diveable range once that wave crashes. You're not a big blinking light for the enemy jungler to come get free money.
Exactly, and we did just get to see that little interaction that I was talking about, which is one of the frustrating things about playing Sion into Aatrox, is that the charged Q for Sion is so much slower than the Q from the Aatrox. So, Kumo starts channeling that up, and somebody just knocked him right out of it, interrupting it. It can make it very, very difficult to actually win out in a lot of these trades.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at Aatrox, 2 of his abilities are just absolutely tailor-made to deal with the Q. I mean, you can either interrupt it with your own Q, as you're saying,
dash.
or, I mean, if your Q's on cooldown, you have a very short cooldown dash to just get out of the way of it before he can channel it long enough to get the knock-up parts. So, lots of tools for Ssumday to deal with Kumo's main aggro mechanism in these 1v1s in topside. You can see Ssumday does have a very modest CS lead here so far. Back in mid lane, things are pretty standard between toucouille and Abbedagge, but we will be hitting level 6s soon in the solo lanes. That could be very big as Ssumday takes Kumo dangerously close to 0.
Yeah, and the wave is pushing away from him, so this really sucks for Kumo. He pretty much has to TP back to try to fix the wave because Ssumday can actually just allow it to slow push towards him, deny a lot of these minions. With that many range minions, like this will be a hard freeze freeze if somebody actually wants it to be. So that's going to be a full wave denied. So he is forced to TP back, has to utilize his buy to be able to push out. He's going Bramble here early. There's been a lot of talk about Bramble actually pretty recently. It's not the most effective item for survival, so unless you're actually looking to scrap, it is better to just go Warden's Mail straight up for survivability. That item is kind of just more efficient in that way, or even just building HP early on is actually better for your survivability as well. So if he wants to scrap and have the healing cup for that, can be powerful. But otherwise, it's not the most efficient item. And, with that wave being held against him, being pushed in, Abbedagge looking for a kill here.
Abbedagge goes right back in. toucouille,
Oh, the
he's
tower!
burning away, but he stays alive with, what was that, 40 HP. toucouille survives the all-in from Abbedagge.
That was really close. The charm there pulling Abbedagge into the tower range made it really dicey on both sides. But a slight advantage there for Abbedagge, who will be able to push out before the reset here. Something else to mention is the fact that because it is only Vex as the AP, yeah, Volley does a little bit of magic damage, but honestly, Sion doesn't care. Sion can just build health and armor and is going to become that mega tank in the later stages of the game because there's not two real threats towards him. It's pretty much just the Jinx that he has to worry about.
Right. Plus, I mean, when you look at Vex, it's not like this is a consistent damage, like constant, like a Rise or something like that with AP damage.
Yep.
Vex wants to go in, unleash the full combo, get a reset, and find the next target. You unload the entire combo into Sion, congratulations, you took half his health. Now he spams that emote at you where he's dropping his weapon on the ground and then he walks
That's
away.
optimistic, half his health. I was going to say congratulations, half his shield. Like, it's one of those things where if Vex can ult and full combo your Sion and then win the team fight, you got bigger problems.
Yeah, you
than
got
the
a lot of
organization.
issues.
There's something has gone wrong somewhere that is just like really, really not a good look. So I do think, Kumo going to be stacking it up and looking pretty good there. And Ahri did actually just have it confirmed, live with 2 HP.
Two?
That's
Holy
it's more than one.
But that's all that it's more than.
Yeah.
Because I thought he got maybe down to 50, 40, something like that. But 2 HP. Bottom side, though, the 2v2 breaks out as Johnsun is level 6. And that means he and aphromoo are going in. He follows after this. Huhi's still getting away, staying alive for now. Johnsun, not enough damage, but they force the flash out of both of the 100 Thieves bottom lane.
Yeah, that's really good. Aphro just trading aggressively there, utilizing his summoners. They had the earlier 6 on Zeri, so he trades out his flash, gets flash off both FBI and huhi. Yeah, you couldn't chase down and kill because you look at the items and you're like, oh, he just has Doran's Blade still. That's not really
it's like,
an impressive amount of damage, but still really well worth it. And now, maybe Jose could look down towards that bottom side. Has been pretty passive thus far. 100 Thieves with an advantage from the laning phase. They are starting up this Herald. Ssumday roaming down, so they have the man advantage. But Kumo is coming here, and it looks like FlyQuest are happy to contest. Both supports are going to arrive as well, so we might have a straight-up 4v4.
Everyone's on the way. Even Marksman sitting back in the base, heading towards this area, or at least towards the mid lane. Okay, it's going to be confirmed over to the side of FlyQuest, but now 100 Thieves is ready to go in for the fight. Kumo's going to be taken low. 100 HP here on the Sion. First blood over to Ssumday. FlyQuest in retreat. Josedeodo seeing if maybe he can try to stay and help or do anything. Maybe he can try to grab the eye, but no. The eye is on the ground, and 100 Thieves protect it until it fades away. So Kumo dies. First blood goes over to 100 Thieves, and FlyQuest don't even get anything back for it.
Yeah, all they get is the smite confirm, but that's not going to be much of anything. Johnsun, nice little dash, dodging the ulti there from huhi, but definitely in the favor of 100 Thieves. Especially because, they actually moved first, it looked like, to try to actually start that up. Johnsun was the one that was arriving earlier, but still, by the time Johnsun got there, the fight was pretty much decided. So it's about the eye spawn off, and in these last little minute smites here, you can see going in, the eye gets procced. I see what happened. I think what happened was Closer thought he had the angle for the eye, so he auto-smited thinking he was going to proc the eye, but the Herald actually turned a little bit, so he didn't proc the eye with his auto. He actually just had hit the side, so that's why it looked like, because first when I watched it, I was like, wow, that smite was so far off, because it only got down to about 700, but that's actually what happened, is he had it timed with
Shelly
the eye
memed
damage.
on him. Yeah, he thought he was going to have the angle, and then the angle disappeared in front of him, so little unlucky on that one, but hey, 100 Thieves are still fine, taking the first blood, defending the eye, making it so there's nothing meaningful, as you said, aside from just like the gold from taking the Herald itself.
The moral victory.
Yeah, you get a moral victory and a little bag of gold
you.
worth about a cannon minion. It's not really that big of a deal, but 100 Thieves have also already secured themselves the first Drake earlier. That was around 6 minutes. Here in 30 seconds, we're going to see the second one. if 100 Thieves can get a 2 Drake lead while nullifying first Herald and having a 1,000 gold lead, roughly, 11 minutes into the game? That feels awesome here for this early game.
Yeah, it'd be feeling great for them. You know, they are setting a pretty good pace thus far. They have had pushed largely on the bottom side. Of course, right now they are being pushed in, but 100 Thieves moving down towards that bot side. Clearly they want to set up, and Vex can actually look for these engages over the wall. You can kind of play back by that little tri-brush area in bot lane and look for the long-range ult if FlyQuest was pushing up. Of course, FlyQuest has eyes on this. They have a lot of wards in this area, so Jose is here, toucouille is here, but Kumo is topside. He does have TP, but it looks like they're not actually going to try to play for this. They just move Vex down. They have Ssumday actually covering the mid wave, and now Ssumday will go back up towards top. So it's basically going to be, you know, a plate, maybe 2. I don't actually know if Kumo is playing Demolish or not, but he'll get a little bit of gold, and they're going to try to get picked now.
Oh, nicely done! FlyQuest immediately strike back and pop Abbedagge before we can do a thing about it. Now, huhi's got to try to get away, but remember his flash was already lost earlier. huhi barely stays alive. The heal coming out from the FBI to get him out of danger, but FlyQuest, nice job there finding the pick.
Yeah, nice job. I mean, they get the kill, and Kumo got 2 plates, so, you know, nicely done up on that top side. You're basically trading, you know, a good 700 plus gold there for the dragon, which I think is actually pretty damn good for FlyQuest. Yes, it is 2 dragons, 400 thieves, but FlyQuest could be ready to fight at that next dragon, you know, closing the gold gap quite a lot, and it is, of course, Demolish being played here. Demolish second win secondary for Kumo. Gonna make him pretty damn hard to actually knock down. Second win, I think, in general, is actually just like really underused compared to bone plating, which feels like people kind of just autopilot bone plating.
Yep.
But it's really easy to get poked off. And my understanding is bone plating doesn't even work on secondary targets. So like if I hit you as the top laner and my jungler also hits you, it doesn't reduce damage from the jungler even when it's active. So there's a lot of little kind of weaknesses about it where a second win is just like always useful. You get, anytime you get hit, you get some health back.
The way that I always looked at it is how easy can your opponent apply damage to you? If you're in a matchup where you're only ever going to have these committed trades from either one of you,
0.
sure, bone plating feels great because now you're going to stop the all-in or at least make them play more carefully around it. If you're going to consistently be taking little chunks of damage, go for second wind. And Ssumday has shown he will constantly hit Kumo with Q1, Q2 every time that he can.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not even that far into the game. Second wind has healed Kumo for almost 500, right? So that's actually a really big deal. When you're thinking about that in terms of refillable potions, that's four charges of refillable potion, essentially, that he's already been healed for there, right? That's 125 per heal there. So very, very nice, the amount of sustain it actually gives you. That is going to keep you out in lane a lot more effective. Sion really is tough to push out of lane, and especially when you are playing, you know, with TP, you have the ultimate as a quick return to the lane, you have the TP as a quick return to the lane, you have multiple ways to just kind of keep getting back there and keep refilling your health over and over and over. But Ssumday is definitely in the advantage. He got an early kill, he has the Gore Drinker completed, and is going to be a pretty big threat early on in these team fights.
Exactly. Kumo continues to scale forward, though. He did have to stop off, as you said, for that Bramble Vest early, so he's a little bit behind. Combined with the farm deficit, of course, too. Like, his Mythic's not going to be online at the same time, but he should get there in time for when this dragon fight breaks out in 2.5 minutes that we're expecting to have. And I am expecting to see FlyQuest try to do something about that. Yes, they are still down in gold overall, but it's an Ocean Soul on top of this tanky front line of the Aatrox, the Volibear, the Leona that's already going to be difficult to get through. So I expect FlyQuest to have an issue with so easily surrendering a soul point here.
Yeah, I think they are going to try to contest. My question is just, can Zeri actually push through that front line, right? You know, because it's not like they have a Jinx. Like, yeah, they have Sion, who's going to scale really, really well. They don't have an amazing frontline killer. It's going to take Johnsun a long time. You know, if you're just sitting on Triforce, to actually punch through the Leona, the Aatrox, the Volibear is going to be fairly difficult. So we'll see how they actually want to play it, if they're just going to have everyone kind of hitting frontline. And, you know, if you do that, does it actually go in your favor against the Jinx, who's going to be, you know, fully stacked on the lethal tempo, just firing out shots from that back line, and it is a much higher DPS build and a much higher DPS champion with the Kraken.
Well, we've got the second Rift Herald of the game up now. It's 100 Thieves who are first to the scene. FlyQuest bringing in a teleport. It looks like they might just want to contest for this. Here we go. The Herald's just burning away. 100 Thieves are going to secure it before FlyQuest is able to make their way in. huhi buying time with a nice stopwatch placement. Super Mega Death Rocket flies in, and 100 Thieves are ready for the counterattack. Vex makes his way into the fight, and now you've got Abbedagge looking to set it up, but it's a double kill back over to Ssumday. Ssumday. A 1-for-2 trade so far. They're continuing to try to get away from the dead body of Kumo, huhi taken very low. Johnsun still alive, toucouille still alive, half HP. Closer also down to a couple hundred. Ssumday is the raid boss here in these fights. He is the difference maker.
Oh man, they just can't finish off any of those low health bars. FlyQuest couldn't get in. There was 3 people with blinking health bars on the 100 Thieves side. It could have gone so much better for them. They could pick up a couple of those kills, but they aren't quite able to actually finish off those frontliners. And huhi did a good job buying time here as they spot out huhi with the vision revealed there from Johnsun, the immediate hook in, but he stopwatches the charm, is very, very healthy when he does it. Volibear flies in. You think, hey, this could be a pretty good angle there for Johnsun as he cleanses out, but Johnsun just doesn't really do a lot of damage to the front line at this point. And Abbedagge flying into the back line, they are able to get this initial kill here onto Afro. He trades his life for it, but look at Ssumday. Like, just takes absolutely no damage, shoves Johnsun out of the fight. toucouille goes in to try to finish off huhi, doesn't quite have the damage. FBI slinking out as well, and now they're back towards mid, dropping the Herald here, looking to extend the advantage and move towards that 3rd dragon.
It's an AD carry and top laner kind of game based on these damage charts. Herald was summoned up in mid lane, but it got about as much value as the eyeball that was left on the ground. FlyQuest is able to defend, but Kumo's below half HP. FlyQuest still all right for now. huhi also dangerously low in the health department, but it's still all about Ssumday. He will be the one keeping everybody from FlyQuest away. He will be the one who can make the largest individual impact here in these fights.
And 100 Thieves are trying to wait for Abbedagge's ultimate. It's almost up here, and now it is coming up. He can look for an engage over the wall if he wants, but they've already killed huhi.
Josedeodo taking a killing spree on that one. huhi just gets caught by the Sion ultimate, and now Ssumday has to flash away. Even with his World Ender active, he cannot fight back against this FlyQuest squad that found their pick. They punished huhi for being such low HP and being in a vulnerable spot, and FlyQuest will stop the Drake stack.
And nicely done there by FlyQuest, capitalizing on that window of opportunity they had. huhi relatively low in the river, and 100 Thieves don't want to fight without Vex ulti. It was just about to come up, but huhi gets caught out before that, and as it's coming down, his support's already out, so they don't want to look for the 4v5 engage. It will be far too risky. So FlyQuest has bought themselves a lot more time here. Vex fishing, but no, not gonna actually find him. I mean, I think they saw him walk over in that area because they have a brush in their side brush there. They have a ward rather than side brush, you know, right here. But I don't think that they actually had eyes on him fully in the brush. So just trying to fish, see if they could have found out Josedeodo. I don't know if they actually would have killed him though, to be honest with you. I don't know if Vex has enough damage at this point. Jose's pretty strong. Like, he's actually up on items, has the Merc Tread, so you're not just going to get 100 zeroed, I don't think.
I mean, Josedeodo has all 3 of the kills for the FlyQuest side. Like, the same way that Ssumday has all of them over on 100 Thieves, Jose is set up to really be a hero for FlyQuest in this game.
And Viego is one of those champions that I hate seeing get kills when I'm playing against it, because you just kind of get that sick feeling that when Viego gets ahead of the curve, Viego gets the reset. And when Viego gets the reset,
you don't have fun.
Yeah, like,
yep.
you just see him, he's just jumping around, hopping in bodies left and right, popping out ultimates.
You practically feel like you're just stuck in line waiting for him to hit you for half your health with his iframe ultimate that jumps over everything. You're like, all right, when's my turn to get hit upside the head with it?
You go first, Flowers.
Sure.
I'll let him have my body after.
All right, cool, dude. I'll catch up with you here in a minute.
Yeah, you're immune again. I get it. I can't attack you. Sure, it's fine.
Yeah, that's it's not a good feeling to be up against, but for the guy piloting it, it just feels like, hey, the whole game is in your hands and you can take control. Josedeodo's in a great spot to be able to have that sort of an impact in these fights as we're into the mid-game now. 3 minutes until our next Drake spawns. We're just about at the 20-minute mark as well, which means that Baron will soon be on the table. And for both these compositions, you have the champions, like the Jinx on one side, the Viego on the other. If you get a couple of picks, if you're in a really good spot, Baron could be an early menu item here.
Absolutely. You have a lot of ability to actually tank it up on both sides. Pretty high DPS, especially on the Jinx side. I would say, you know, they're going to be able to try to threaten that rush down very, very quickly. But Soul is going to be a big deal in this game, you know, for either side. You know, you talked about the ability for 100 Thieves kind of have all these bruisers who's going to become super tanky. But as well, for Kumo, if you let this guy stack a ton of armor and get Ocean Soul, the Sion is going to be almost impossible to actually punch through. He's going to be able to buy a lot of space for the rest of his team.
Right. It's not one of those things where Sion is a champion that needed to have a very strong performance in lane and, you know, coming out of lane with a death or two and then having this 50 CS deficit just says, oh, no, he's useless. Nautilus. It's not like he's Jace or something, right? Yeah. He's going to be this meatball. He's going to be able to just itemize the incredibly effective tank items that it's scary to have to deal with this. You talked about Jinx being one of those champions that can punch through front line and be that big carry. Well, I don't care how good you are or how many shows you're the main character in. If you have
from Arcane?
Bat chest. If you have to deal with a Sion that has 2,000 extra HP from his W and 4 armor items, it's going to take a minute.
It's going to take some rockets. Yeah. Might run out.
It's going to take some rockets, maybe some bullets, a couple of flame chompers, whatever that blue thing in the 3rd episode was. It's been long enough now. You're not allowed to say spoilers. You should have watched the show. It's really good.
All of chat is now spamming spoilers. Dude, that's a guarantee. So,
to the one person who still hasn't seen Arcane, I'm sorry. To everybody else, have fun. Anyway, back into the game.
God bless you.
Yeah, back into the game here. We got the Black Cleaver completed for Ssumday. This item, of course, a lot more popular these days. For a long time was kind of not built at all, but giving the armor shred as well as the extra movement speed feels really nice on this, especially when you're up against this tanky front line with the Sion. Going to be important to be able to deal any sort of meaningful damage. And the armor shred, remember, gets rid of the target's armor. It doesn't buff your own armor pen, so it'll help for FBI too.
Yep. Going to be a pretty big deal there in trying to take down this Sion, if he's even hitting the Sion in the team fights. Definitely going to be strong in the 1v1 in the side lane, but we'll see how he wants to play out the 5v5s, because I think, yes, you can hit Kumo, but really he wants to be chasing Johnsun and toucouille and kind of like pushing them out of the fight, I think. Largely focusing down some of those carries. But it's a setup, again, around Dragon here. It's going to be up here in 18. FlyQuest, of course, came out on top last time. But this time, both toucouille and Ssumday trying to play for this flanking position here. Zeri's still chilling around mid, and 100 Thieves do have much more vision in this area. There is the one ward in the back of the pit that hasn't been spotted, but now Abbedagge swinging a miss there. toucouille able to dodge out on that ultimate, so you could look for the fight here potentially.
100 Thieves are just going to try to burn it down, and toucouille gets caught out. Now he's going to try to get away with his own ulti. Nicely done. They're going back in for Abbedagge, but instead he ends up throwing away his own life. FlyQuest are trying to contest the Drake, but the rockets flying out from FBI means it's going to be soul point for 100 Thieves. toucouille got a little too high for Azael. He thought he could go back in and make the outplay, but he just gets shut down, and 100 Thieves get the punish.
Yeah, not paying the respect to how strong Ssumday is in that position. I mean, ulted right back in point blank. I think the initial play was great, and then he hits the Charm Everfrost here, and he feels like, hey, I can actually turn this. But the problem is, he doesn't quite have the damage to burst him down, and you've got to play it a little bit more slowly. When he flash ults away, I think you can kind of do an ulti where you just do it a little bit to the side instead of straight in on his face.
Yeah.
I think he was maybe worried about like too many of the little Foxfire tails or whatever they're called, like going to the minions. Maybe he thought like, hey, if I go straight towards him, I can kind of get more of the damage down onto this Vex, but playing it a little bit too fast, and with him going down, it was always going to be 100 Thieves one fight. They do take the dragon. They are now at soul point, so it's a big deal here for FlyQuest, who's now kind of up against it.
And we don't have a super high kill game this time around. 7 kills in 23 minutes is on the lower end, but we also don't have a high gold difference between the teams. They're still pretty close in most respects, and I think that makes the soul thing that much more important, because that could be the thing that really breaks this game open and gives 100 Thieves that big power edge.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's very difficult to win against Ocean Soul. A lot of people talk about the Hex deck one. It is obviously really, really powerful, but I think Ocean Soul still remains one of the premier souls to grab. It's extremely hard to actually come back against. It allows you to play around Baron so effectively as well, because you're never worried about actually losing health from tanking it. You're just constantly full health, hitting this Baron, starting it up over and over and over. And any fight that isn't ended instantly, you get massive value out of the Ocean Soul. And FlyQuest don't really have an overwhelming amount of damage, just insta-kill people on the 100 Thieves side. Like, they're going to get some value.
And the other thing about it that shines to me is the fact that it forces a Grievous Wounds tax on your opponents.
Yeah.
Which goes even further. Again, in a game that does not already have a large gold lead, you can create for yourself a bit of a pseudo-gold lead by making them spend their gold on items they don't actually want, but they now need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's worth thousands of gold in itself, and then, as you say, it's a good point. You have to pay that tax, buy up the healing reduction items. I think at some point they're going to want some anyway, at least against
Just for
the
the
Aatrox,
yeah.
because he can be a real problem in that front line. And when he's getting insane value out of the Gore Drinker, like this champion just works so well with the increased self-healing from his ulti, right? You know, it's 45% increased self-healing. You get a really big Gore Drinker in the middle of everyone with Conqueror procced. You just go back to full, right? So someone's got to get something.
It's the old days of like the really overpowered Gore Drinker where you just press the button and get your health bar back. Aatrox is one of the few champions that can still have that reality if he has the right situation.
I will say, it feels so bad when you're playing a tank and you're playing against a bruiser, and then it's like the bruiser just heals for so much that they're just way more tanky than you.
Yep, just slurp, gets all his health back. Gore Drinker.
I have a Sunfire Cape. Well, I have an item that gives me my full health bar. Okay.
Well, all right, cool. I'll see you later. You're
Nice,
making way.
yeah.
I'll be under my turret if you need me.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it becomes. But hey, talking about the tanks, we got the Sunfire Aegis. We've got the Bramble Vest still there. Obviously, that hasn't been evolved into a full Thornmail yet. And we've got Frozen Heart completed there for Kumo. Now, while this item is good against Jinx, who's got plenty of attack speed, Closer also on the Volibear going to need to auto-attack. It's less effective against something like Aatrox, who is more of a spell weaver. Right, like it's always going to be, even if you're using auto-attacks, you are weaving them in between Qs, so the attack speed won't be as meaningful.
Do the passive poke with a sword. You need.
Yeah, exactly. You just stab him with that thing. He feels more like an Elden Ring swords guy. He has to do all his very deliberate sword swings with telegraphs and all that. But we got a minute until the Drake.
Too bad the Sion can't roll and dodge that.
Yeah, well, Sion,
what they need. That's what
Sion
Sion really
100% does the fat roll.
He
has full encumbrance and he's just belly flopping onto the ground. But it would be cool to see. I would absolutely love that.
His inventory is absolutely full.
Yeah,
He's got like 7,000 kinds of grease, you know?
The Sunfire Aegis probably weighs like 70 pounds itself. The thing is just massive, but it doesn't matter because Kumo is the front line here for FlyQuest, and that front line better be ready to tank it up in about 30 seconds, Azael, because if FlyQuest don't get this Drake, that soul that we've been talking about, all those advantages that 100 Thieves would earn for themselves, that becomes the game FlyQuest are playing, and they do not want to play that game.
They absolutely do not. When you're looking at some of the item completions, you know, Jinx is kind of half item up here on Johnsun, and I do think, again, Zeri's going to struggle to actually punch through this front line. If FBI gets some free time, he is going to put out a massive amount of damage here. But Closer looking for the face check. He's getting a first down, baby.
Closer, that's not where you wanted to be, buddy. And then the Sion flies right through for the follow-up. Multiple flashes forced out here. FBI and huhi both had to flash out to get away. FlyQuest moving forward as a unit. They're all five together. They know the enemy jungler does not have an ulti. They know the AD carry and support do not have flashes. 100 Thieves may have just lost their dragon soul off of that one. FlyQuest.
Abbedagge is looking over the wall. Look at him. He's in a position where he could go for a multi-man ult.
Okay, Abbedagge ready to fly in if need be. Drake at 3,000. Ssumday is in the pit. He will zone FlyQuest away and threaten a different angle. Closer's still here. Smite ready for both of our junglers. Solar Flare goes out. Aphromoo finds his fence line only under the crab, and there they go. toucouille is already down. And FlyQuest will find themselves cut to pieces. Ssumday deals with multiple players on FlyQuest. He picks up one. Here comes another. Shutdown credit goes over to FBI for at least being able to take down Johnsun and steal that one away from Ssumday. Josedeodo wants to fight back a little bit, but fight back he will not. Shut down for Abbedagge, and 100 Thieves gets 4 for nothing.
It's a clean ace here for 100 Thieves. They get Soul, they get Baron. The team fight positioning was so good for them, even though we saw FlyQuest forcing out those flashes early. The Vex over the wall ults in, gets that multi-man fear that he was looking for, timed very well with the huhi engage, and then even able to use the reset to get away from the carries, to go over onto the Sion to bring himself to safety there. This is just so nice, and it's all about this angle from here. huhi coming in from one side, the Vex ults in from the other side, hitting onto toucouille, able to fear up 3 members there, all of them getting burst down very quickly, and Abbedagge, who's in some trouble, then just uses the ulti to taxi over to Kumo, who can't finish him off, getting him safe from that Zeri, and Ssumday gets in on top of Johnsun, absolutely clobbers him. Ssumday having a massive game on the Aatrox. Abbedagge, the cooldowns came back up out of that zone. You have the W back, and the W shields is just enormous, so unfortunately for Jose, he goes down and can't do anything about it.
huhi gonna get picked off here, it looks like. He survives! And the counterattack finds Closer a kill. Now Ssumday's made his way onto the front line. FlyQuest didn't have the damage to burst the Leona. They tried to do something to at least put the brakes on the 100 Thieves war machine, but that machine just keeps chugging along down mid lane.
Yeah, they're looking really strong here, and they even forced a flash off of Johnsun from Abbedagge's ult. He threw in that Vex ulti, and Johnsun knew he had to flash it, couldn't actually dash out of the way. So bad goes to worse. Ssumday gonna go top, push that in. You can see the waves moving in the right direction here already. 400 Thieves across the map. You know, waves pushing in here. Ssumday's getting top, going in the right direction. They have their squad mid to shove in this tier 2 as well. And FlyQuest just don't really have strong enough wave clear to actually push through this.
FlyQuest feel like they are stuck in such a bad spot here. The game felt close for a while, but when you get a near ace plus a Drake Soul, plus a Baron, all within 30 seconds, the game's gonna turn your way pretty fast, and 100 Thieves are looking to make the most of the remaining minute here on the Baron. Ssumday will lead the charge, pushing up the top lane. Minion wave about to crash into mid as well, so these are synced up. 100 Thieves might just go for the dive. Johnson's gonna get slowed down, and there they go. They pull him right back in with the chains, and now aphromoo gonna be your second kill over to Ssumday. 100 Thieves just won the game. Abbedagge will chase him down with the ulti. It's only toucouille left standing. Everybody else falls to pieces. FBI tries to chase him into the fountain, but doesn't quite have the damage or the range. Nice charm's gonna pull the 100 Thieves AD carry in for a quick shutdown, but unfortunately, it is too little, it is too late, and 100 Thieves, off the back of that massive fight for the Drake Soul, are gonna earn themselves this win. They're gonna get themselves back in better shape compared to yesterday, and they're gonna take down FlyQuest 32 minutes into the game. That laser was the MVP, and it still don't matter. 100 Thieves get the win.
Nicely done from 100 Thieves. Some really strong team fighting, and I've got to say, an incredible game from Ssumday. Really strong laning phase there, able to actually create a massive advantage and then translate that into the team fights, into these skirmishes around Dragon as well. The positioning on that engage in that final Dragon fight from Abbedagge was also perfect. Over the wall, playing on that pink ward, able to have that coordinated engage alongside huhi was really, really nice. And I think 100 Thieves can be happy with this game for sure. They have a 2-0 weekend. Yes, yesterday was less clean. It required some misplays from their opponents, but today, a lot stronger.
That Abbedagge engage in that fight felt like it was fiddlesticks, just jumping in there, blowing up everybody, fears everywhere. But hey, 100 Thieves got to be happy about that one. And now we're joining LeTigress and Abbedagge, the fiddlesticks Vex himself, on stage for a Verizon post-game interview.
Vexel sticks?
Thank you, Captain Flowers. I've got Abbedagge right here, and they were just talking about your play. You were actually player of the game for this one. So just what are your thoughts on how you played in this particular game?
Oh, I think my Vex is actually a lot better in scrims, and I'm a bit sad that I couldn't show like how good I am truly on the champ, but at least I'm happy I could finally pull it off. But I think my early game was pretty bad, but I did pretty good plays later, so I'm happy with that.
That's a scary thing to hear when everyone was just talking about how good it looked in moments, right?
Yeah.
So the last time you faced against FlyQuest, things went a little bit differently. A Veigar that got out of control as well as a Tryndamere. What was it like this time in comparison?
I don't know, we're just a better team nowadays. I feel like even our last time versus FlyQuest, it was just kind of on the back of me that we lost, because I felt like I could have really carried that game when I was playing cocky. This game, everyone played really well in my team, so it just felt very good to be that good on the stage.
It looked like you were all on the same page, especially within the team fight. So how do you feel in that regard, holistically as a team, moving into the last weeks of the split?
I mean, it's just important that we can finally show some good synergy. I think we haven't been the same since last summer. So it's good that our practice finally shows off.
Feel like you're getting there, though?
Yeah.
Get back? All right. 100 Thieves fans are definitely happy about that. Abbedagge, thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
That is it for our second game of the day. Soon enough, we'll have the rest of the LCS, but kicking it to a break right now. We'll see you on the other side.
Initializing legendary moments.
Take a look while you can, because if you blink, you'll miss it.
I'm sure you've heard the news.
Gold, gold, and more gold.
Here comes the big play. Oh, that's perfect timing. You can see this one coming. They get what they need. They got the mid. They got the support. They got the top.
Are they gonna give you some fun League of Legends? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Welcome to the LCS.
FTX, official cryptocurrency exchange partner of the LCS.
Sequence complete.